Hey, hello, my dear friends. So, I have recorded for you a short lecture based on IGCSE physics. So, we'll first start with the general physics, and let me write it for you. It's a short lecture. Short lecture in the form of duration, but not the content. So, I'll be providing the full course, complete package, complete content of this general physics in a short durations of numbers of videos, the copies of videos. Okay, let's start it. So first comes the general physics. So we have seen that in the physics, basically, we have the two ideas which we must need to understand as per the curriculum. The first idea which you can see is this, that is the idea of force. You can just look here in the picture and get to know, yeah, these are kind of magnetic forces. These are the magnetic forces. And these are some kind of mechanical forces concerned with the machinery and all those things, all those stuff. And this is just a force on a block. So the first comes in the general physics, the idea is the idea of force. Second idea which comes in the general physics is the idea of energy. Here I have a simple visual of solar energy, which you can see. So these are basically the two ideas which we are concerned of throughout this chapter of general physics. Let's move to the next slide. Now, if we wanted to know how these ideas come into the mind, the first is observation. The idea comes into the mind is via observation. So as you can see the visual, Galileo Galilei did observation through his telescope, and he found that via observation that the Venus is having different faces. This was during his observation through his telescope. He also observed that Jupiter is having different numbers of moons. So Jupiter is having many number of moons. This was the early observation of Galileo Galilei. Then this is just a fact for you that in 1992 a satellite named as a honor or respect to the Galileo was sent in the space, and it took the photos of the earth and the moon phase which is under the light. Second way is that is the idea of force maybe, or idea of the energy, which can come is via thought. As you can see in the visual, Sir Isaac Newton also observed, and his observation will not say that the idea of physics of the law of gravitation came in the form of observation. Of course it was observation, but it came under the thought. It was like an intuition. He predicted that as the apple is falling, you can see that in the visual, apple is falling from a tree, so it can be like certain force which is like the earth force, gravitational force is attracting this apple. So he, via intuition or via thought process, he gave an idea of a force which is basically, it's the same force, the gravitational force, which is the same force which is gravitational force, which basically ties two objects. I mean, there's a force of attraction between two bodies in the space also. Like suppose if we talk about the moon and the earth, the moon is revolving around the earth, it's due to the gravitational force. And if suppose there is a sun, the earth is rotating around the sun, it's due to the gravitational force. I mean, it completes the year. We all know this thing. So we get to know from this that the idea basically of physics, that is which we are concerned of in the general physics, that is the idea of force and the idea of energy, this can come via two methods. That is, first is via observation. We can observe, as the Galileo Galilei observed via the different phases of Venus and different moons of Jupiter, ideas. And the second is that the idea in physics, basically that is the idea of force maybe, or the idea of energy, can come through thought also, intuition also. So these are two ways in which the idea of physics comes into the mind of the physicists and scientists. Then the next comes basically how the measurement improves. we'll not talk about this in this lecture. We'll just talk about a little bit of the history of this. So during one of the time, during his service in the church, Galileo Galilei was observing a structure here. It was a hanging structure. So this hanging structure he observed, and it was actually moving with a fixed time period like a pendulum, as we know today. So he concluded, then after observation, that it's having the fixed time period, and then the idea of time came into the mind, and then it switched to the clock and all, which we'll study in the next lecture. So thank you for attending this today's session. Okay. So in the next lecture, we'll proceed next in the progression of how measurement improves. Okay. So thank you so much for your dedication to the learning. Please like and subscribe this channel. So I'll be providing the complete lecture in the short clips. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.